Okay, so welcome back. In this module, I would like to introduce snapshots. We'll discuss a little bit on snapshots and then we'll view the different snapshot file before moving into our vSphere web client and actually configuring a snapshot or creating a snapshot and reverting back to a previous state. Okay, so let's get started with this. So a snapshot is useful in situations where we would need to implement a change in our virtual machine and revert back to that at some point. So it basically allows us to create a point-in-time backup of our virtual machine state and then do a point-in-time restore or commit the changes of that VM. Okay, so it captures when we do a snapshot operation, it captures the memory state for that virtual machine. It will capture the setting state as well as the state for that VM. Okay, so let's just see an example where this might be useful. Say you were to install some update on one of your server, right? And you're not sure about the results of this update. Okay, you could create a snapshot before you install that update, and should something go wrong with it after, with that server after you would have installed the update, you do have the option there to revert to that VM state that you captured before in your snapshot. All right. It should be noted it's not a full copy of the virtual machine, a snapshot. We'll see that in when we look at the different uh, snapshot files. Okay. All right. So once we create a snapshot, we would have or we'll no longer be writing data to the original VMDK file. All right. The changes that we would make from that point onwards would be recorded in a Delta file, and we'll have a look at the naming scheme for this in a little bit. The original VMDK file, however, would remain as your read-only source. Okay, so your changes would be in that Delta disk file, and your original VMDK still serve as your read-only disk. All right. Um, as I mentioned, they are not full copies of your VM. All right, so you wouldn't want to use a snapshot in place of some sort of backup system. All right, because these Delta disks that we are making changes or writing changes to, they would have the tendency to grow over a period. Especially if you leave this unmanaged and you're not checking on it, or you create snapshots, or you keep creating snapshots and you're not monitoring the disk usage of these Delta disks. Okay. Um, let's just bear in mind though, once we revert to a previous point with our snapshot manager, once we revert to a previous point there, it would cause a loss in data. All right. So let's just keep that in mind because you're reverting to a previous state. Okay. Also, what you might want to do is to take the bigger picture into perspective. So say you have a couple of different servers that provide a service to an end user, right? And the three of them need to work together. You wouldn't want to necessarily create a snapshot on one of them and then revert back to a point that would disturb the provisioning of that service to your end user. Okay, so you wouldn't want a situation where you revert one of the VM to a previous state, and then as a group you can no longer provide that service. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the different snapshot files. All right, to start with, we have our memory state file. This is if we capture the state of the memory. So this would be the current state of the memory at the point of the snapshot. Um, we would have our descriptor file. All right. Um, Next, we would have our delta file that the changes would be written to. Um, Finally, we would have our VMSD file, and this basically keeps track of the various snapshots that we have on our system. So it will store information and metadata basically about our snapshots. All right. Okay, so let's get into our console and demonstrate some of this. Okay, so here I have our application server. We are going to work with this. Um, I have a connection to this open. So this is where we would create a snapshot. If we were to right click this here and go to snapshot, we could take a snapshot. We could manage our snapshot. All right. So I don't think we have any snapshots currently on this machine. Let's just double check though. Okay, we have a couple here. Let me just delete these. Okay, so we don't have any snapshot any longer on that VM. All right, so this is where we would create a snapshot. We'll just go to the snapshot menu and then take a snapshot of this virtual machine. Before we demonstrate this, let's just make some changes to this machine. Okay, so I'll just create a folder here and let's just name this before snapshot creation. All right. Okay, so before snapshot creation. Okay, so we'll come into our application server now, and we'll take a snapshot. All right. So let's call this snapshot one or snapshot one. All right. We could give it a description, and this is where we'll capture the memory state if we want. Okay, so we'll go ahead and capture the memory state for this. All right. And just hit OK there. We should see this running at the bottom here in our recent tasks pane. Whilst this is running, I want to just show you guys how we could view these files. If we go into the data store where this VM is hosted, we would be able to see some of the snapshot files, but not all of them. Like the delta disk and stuff like that, we'll need to use we'll need to go into the actual data store with our WinSCP tool. So let me just pull that up. Okay, this is the location for this let me just refresh this. Okay, this is the location for our files pertaining to the application server. All right, let's see if this is finished. Okay, we have a couple seconds more. Let's just wait until this is complete and then we will refresh this. Okay, this shouldn't take too long. Okay, it's completed. All right, So let me just refresh this view here. The main files we'll be looking at, this is the one that keeps track of the different snapshots that contains information and metadata. If we come down in our list here, these are the original VMDK, and this is the change disk or the delta disk that we were talking about. So all changes from this point forward would be written to the delta disk. Okay. Let's see what else we could see in here. This one here is our memory state file. So we did capture the memory state when we demonstrated the capturing of the snapshot a few minutes ago. So based on that, we'll have the VMSN file. Oh, we didn't spoke about this one before. This one, the vmem, it's basically the page file for the snapshot. So once the virtual machine is powered on, we would see the vmem file, the snapshot .vmem. Okay. So let me just minimize this. All right. So let's say we install our updates now, okay, on the server, and it goes really bad. All right, it goes bad. We got some files, folders all deleted. Things just not working out here. All right, what we could do is come back to our snapshot manager. So if we right click again, come into snapshot and manage our snapshot. All right. We have a couple different options here. We could delete this particular point. If we had multiple points, we could delete all of them here. All right. This is our current point with the folder that we took the snapshot on, the snapshot one, when the folder was there. All right. So let's revert. Okay. Okay, so let's revert to our previous point. We'll just confirm that we want to revert to snapshot one. Hit yes. This will just suspend the state of the VM and then release it back. Okay. So this is now completed. Let me see. I'll just reload this page. So here it is. So we got back to the point where we were before. Okay. So if things really go bad, we always have a point to come back to. All right. As I mentioned, you need to be careful with monitoring your delta disk and just make sure that it don't get that huge on your data store. Okay.